make a food run here. Few folks are going to run across the street and grab a food run because they had a little bit of late, I guess, with their PEPO committee. So, but they're going to be back here shortly. So I'm going to kind of wait.
Here.
You're here? Okay, Patrick, excellent. So, and as I'm being notified tonight, we've got folks that are out sick. Matter of fact, half of my office, I'm the only healthy one left here today. Otherwise, everybody else shagged out and went home. So I'm knocking on wood that I'm not the next one to fall flat on their back with this COVID stuff that's hitting us all. So hope everyone's doing well. So definitely changing how we are doing things here. And here we are here again. So it is what it is, but we'll do the best to endeavor to persevere as we have in the past. So thanks everyone for joining us. So, and I know I have a couple of folks that indicated they will not be here. Jay was one that, or Jeff will not be joining us tonight. So and I'm sure there's a few others. Tim Winkler, and I haven't heard anything back from Vince Wilczek because there's a lot of folks here that are quite ill and rangy right now. So as is common in your neck of the woods too. So.
Routt County had 98 positives yesterday.
98. No.
533 last week, wasn't it? Something like that, or some crazy number.
I think it was 450 last week, but we're going up. We're going the wrong direction.
Yes, we are.
Yeah, and I didn't know the number, but I thought it was. It's really.
We need to order and let's get going. Let's get going tonight. We've got we've got a couple of good speakers tonight. I know Executive Director Dan Gibbs will be visiting with us tonight. As you all seen, and I'm not familiar with what he's got going on to say, but I'm glad to have him join us tonight. And then we have Colorado State Forest Service here as well. And I've seen them present tonight before. And they've got some unique proposals that they're doing and projects that kind of might align a little bit with what we have for some of our goals and outcomes with our group. So I'm looking forward to hearing about that. So, so anyway, Megan, I'm going to turn the helm over to you for a bit so we can get roll call. And make sure we got everybody recorded that for our meeting tonight.
Okay, sounds good. Can everybody hear me okay? I've had a hard time with my audio and whatnot
Sound
lately.
You sound
It's
great.
good. Okay. Perfect.
Sound good.
Okay, so I'm just gonna go down the list here. We've got Doug Munger.
Here.
Okay, Tom Gray,
Here.
Gary Moyer. Julie Baxter,
Here.
Steve Hinkemeyer,
Here.
Alden. Ken, I saw you. Ooh. I've got Mike Camlin on here. Shoot, hold on. I've got Mike
Here.
Camlin. Yeah, he still is at the Juniper Water Conservancy, correct?
Yes.
Okay, sorry, thank you. Sean Welder. Jay Sheehan. Tim Winkler.
Absent.
Casey Green. Hunter Causey. Callie Hendrickson.
Here.
Brian Hodge.
Here.
Will Myers. Kent Ventries. Frank Alphone.
Here.
Rich Thompson. Jeff Myers. Jackie Brown,
Here.
Jeff Comstock,
Yes, here.
Doug Davis,
Here.
okay, Giles Whitman,
Here.
Chris Collins,
Here.
Jennifer Holloway,
Here.
Travis Day,
Here.
Bill Badaraka, Vince, I apologize, Vince Wilczek, I believe is how you said it. Patrick O'Toole, Jonathan Bowler,
Here, thank you.
thank you, and that is it. All right, should be good.
Thank you. I see there's a few others. I see Sean Welder's here as well that you called out. So I'm sure you guys will keep track of that as we get moving along through the meeting as those come in. So a couple of housekeeping things before we move on. Please, if you have a comment or a question, please feel free to raise your hand. I'll do my best. And I know we've got Patrick and Megan over there as well to help, but please raise your hand in your box and we'll do our best to kind of get to you. So other thing, we've got some folks with remote streaming here. If you're not speaking, please turn your camera off so we can kind of save those folks some broadband and they can help them stream the meeting better. Additionally, if you are not speaking, have your microphone muted because that'll help save some background noise. So simple enough. So with that, we're going to look to approve or modify the agenda. I know I was made aware of one agenda change that would fall underneath item 10 under announcements. Hunter has requested to make an announcement to the Basin Roundtable. So we would like to add Colorado River District, Hunter Causey as item 10A, if we could please. And that's the only other agenda item that I see. Anything else anybody noted?
I'll make a motion to approve your suggested changes.
Thank you, Jackie. Can I get a second? Oh,
Second, Brenner.
thank you, Ken. Motion and second on the table. Discussion? If not, signify by saying aye.
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 Thank you. Opposed, nay. Excellent. Next item on the agenda. Review and approve minutes from the previous meeting, November 10 meeting. Everybody comfortable with them? I read through them. It seemed to be reflective.
Alderman, it's Frank Alfone. I'll make a motion to approve the minutes from November 10th.
Thanks, Frank. Thanks for coming with us tonight. So motion on the table.
Longer second.
Thank you, Doug. Any other comments? All in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Such great enthusiasm. Yes. All in favor say, all opposed say nay. Thank you. Next item on the agenda. Sam, I'm sure you're here. I just haven't seen you in the box yet.
I am. Hopefully me talking will bring me to the top. Can you hear me all right?
Yes, sir.
Excellent. Well, thanks so much, and hope everyone had a good holidays and a good start to 2020. I'll just kick it off by kind of reading off the balances for WSRF. So I'm showing a balance in native funds of 693,490 and a stimulus balance of 27,250, which gives a total of 720,740. And I'll just kind of continue on with a few other budget updates. One of which is during the November CWCB board meeting, the board adopted the new changes made to the WSRF criteria and guidelines. And those were effective as of January 1st, and they are up on our website now. So if you want to learn a bit more about that, feel free to check it out on our grants page. In addition to the changes made to WSRF, there were also changes made to the Public Education Participation and Outreach Program, also adopted at the November board meeting. These new changes, with the new changes, the PEPO Basin Coordinator funds become grant funded up to $25,000 per fiscal year. This is a shift from the previous allotment, which was $6,500 annually. So just really excited to infuse these funds into PEPO. We know this has been a big ask for a long time, and we know that PEPO has been able to do a lot with a little in the past. So really excited to see what they're able to do moving forward. Also wanted to mention through the CSU extension program, there's a drought leadership training, and this is taking place on February 4th, 11th, 18th, and then again, March 4th, 8th and 9th, 15th and 16th. Unfortunately, the link that I have to the one pager on this is broken, but we'll share an update with a lot of info to the roundtables, and we'll include that one pager in that packet of information. Also, just would be remiss if I didn't thank everyone for all the hard work put into the BIP as we're approaching the finish line here. We know it's been a really heavy lift, and I'm sure everyone's ready to be about done with that. So we're really looking to improve this process moving forward, and we'd really like to get everyone's input. So we've got a survey that's starting up now for the BIP, and would really love to get everyone's input about what worked, what didn't work, and really want to streamline this process when we do it again in the future. So after I finish running through these last couple things, I'll stick the link in the chat. Also, unfortunately, the LE team and Lisa were unable to make the meeting today, and asked me to just read off a quick update. So from Wilson Water, they said, thanks again to everyone who participated in the BIP committee. Wilson made a few minor tweaks in response to the public comments, and will work with the PEPO committee to finish up any edits on their section. After that's complete, the Yampa-White-Green BIP update volume 1 and 2 will be finalized. We will provide a PDF versions to be posted on the website. Additionally, we will provide a record of the public comments that were received in PDFs as well. Stay tuned, these will be provided in the next weeks or so. So sorry, I know that's a little bit of a mouthful, and I can also stick the comments from the LEs in the chat. So if I read it off a little quickly, people can read it, but that's all I've got for you all today. So happy to take any questions.
Thanks, Sam. Anybody got anything for Sam?
Sam, this is Ken Brenner. Well, thank you for the new funding for the PEPO committee. We've already we've spent all of that money already. So no, but seriously, we really appreciate the new structure. If I understand it, then this is approved by the Water Conservation Board as a proposal for the JBC to approve with the legislature for the 2022 budget.
Hey, Ken, thanks for that question. And Russ, if you're on, correct me if I'm wrong, but I believe this has already been moved through and will be effective as of the new fiscal year.
Yeah, that's correct, Sam and Ken, good question. But since the funding is effectively coming out of the perpetual base fund, that's already allocated to CWCB. So it's about moving those funds. So in approving this at the last board meeting, the CWCB moved the $3 million needed to fund it for this year. So there's kind of a 3 million out, 3 million in goal. And so the CWCB made the first kind of good faith effort to do that, to kind of keep that resilience funding to ensure that we have the 3 million to fund WSRF and PEPO from year to year. So that money is there and ready, and come fiscal year, it would all be ready to be moved on. And of course, there's already a balance there that for any existing grants can keep moving forward.
Well, the Roundtable really wants to thank you for taking this action and giving a real substantial and sustainable funding source to the Roundtables and in particular to the PEPAL committee. So thank you very much.
Thank you.
Yeah, agreed. Thank you guys.
Any other feedback for Sam?
So
This is, oh,
no, go ahead,
go ahead,
Steve.
Doug.
No, you
Hey.
go.
Okay, Heldon, I
Steve.
just want to say that the CWCB did provide some graphs, some breakdowns of where the money was spent in 2021, and that's with the meeting materials. And if everybody has a chance, you should look at those. They kind of tell a story. I don't know if it's good or bad, but I really like that breakdown, Sam, of that you guys sent in with like where the money's going and that sort of thing. I think it really kind of jogged my memory on, you know, what's going on and where we should place maybe more emphasis. Go ahead, Doug. That's all I had.
So just quickly, so I appreciate you guys' update. I guess my question is back to the gambling money and initiative that went through a couple years ago. I haven't seen anything on that or whatever. And we know that the severance taxes were going down. I predicted that ages ago and said we were going to have a problem with that. And now that's your guys' mainstay for funding. So I'm really, the broader picture, Russ, would be great. Thank you.
Sure. No, really good question, Doug, and good to hear your voice of us getting to see you. Can't wait to get out there again. I think, yeah, so the DD Proposition DD money that came in, that was slated to go to water plant grants. In so doing, that money is now going to be allocated come this fiscal year. So you should, that will be coming to CWCB at the start of fiscal year, so in July. And last I checked, I have to get a hard number on that, but it's somewhere north of 7 million that's coming in. And so hopefully that will continue to grow, but at least for this kind of first infusion of those funds, it'll be 7 million. And that's great because we have gotten quite the run. There are kind of more grants than ever that are coming in for requests for funding. So very grateful to have that DD funding coming in.
Yeah, it's an interesting problem. We try to create the roundtables to come up with as many projects as we can come up with. And yet, you know, I'm still struggling with how we're going to fund them all and how we can figure out where the money's coming from. So thank you.
Yeah, 100% agree, Doug. And I think, you know, one thing I'm kind of reminded of is the good work the Roundtable did 2014 and 15 really led to the development of the water plan grants. And of course, putting the dollars together and trying to get that good data behind the projects was really meant to show that need and really improve the quality of the data that we had. So I'm very hopeful that when we kind of similarly fill in that data for the water plan update, that it helps tell a story that leads to additional funding.
Anyone else? Okay, Sam, thanks a bunch, bud. Thank you very much for sharing that. And Russ, thank you as always. Good seeing you.
You too. Thanks.
Thanks, appreciate it.
Next, it's been approached to me. Let's see, item on the wrong item here. So item 6, public input. I have not received any information. Is Megan, have you?
No, I have not.
Okay. Is there anyone here that's online with us today that would like to visit with the Basin Roundtable?
Hey, Alden, it's Deirdre, and I apologize for not writing ahead, but I did want to comment on the leafy spurge report, which I was really pleased to see included in the materials. I don't see it on the agenda as far as a report, and I know the Roundtable gave them a significant amount of money. I think it's a really really important report. There was some great material in it. I know it's a problem on the Yampa because every time I drive through Craig, I see it all along the banks, but I also know it's a big problem on the White. I've seen the leafy spurge up the near the headwaters all the way down to Rangeley. I see it all over our ranch, and the report states how it spreads all along the river as the seeds fall in, and chemicals, they just can't do the project. So I was very happy to see in the executive summary that the insects are a very important part of the solution and they last a long time. And I hope that the PIPO committee will consider, and maybe you've already discussed it, Ken, some articles about the findings from this important study from the Roundtable, and how ranchers and landholders along the river, and by the way, I've seen it up in dry range in the BLM as well, what tools are in the toolbox that are effective. We've put out on our ranch about 50,000 insects, but we learned when we heard from the insectary that if a community is doing aerial mosquito spray of permethrin, that kills all of those beneficial insects, the tamarisk insects, the leafy spurge beetles, the bees, the butterflies, everything. So we've invited Jesse Schroeder from Moffat County to Rio Blanco to hear from him. They're doing integrated pest management where they're minimizing aerial mosquito spray, which kills all bugs, including the beneficial insects. And I just think this is a very important study that came out of this grant. It's something the Roundtable should be proud of, and I hope the PIPO committee is able to use some of these exciting new funds to educate the community, because this is an all-out battle against this plant that spreads so fast and takes over pasture land and dry range as well. Thank you, Alden.
Okay, thank you. Anyone else that's with us this evening that would like to address the roundtable? Hearing none, let's keep moving forward. Thanks everyone for the public comment there. So we have Jackie visited with me. We have the CWCB issued a code of conduct, as we remember earlier last year. Executive Director Mitchell visited with us during her chat with us and kind of talked with us about it, but we've got something a little bit more formalized, and Jackie would like to visit with us, and we would like to add these in addition to our bylaws and share this with the group. So Jackie, if you're Ken, you have the floor.
Awesome. Thank you. So it's in your packet. I'm just pulling up mine so I can tell you where it is. And of course, now I have so many windows that I've lost where it is, but hopefully you're all following along. And the code of conduct was something that the Basin the CWCB staff and DNR had created and brought to the board, and just sort of explained the intention behind it, which, I think, as far as I understand it, and as I bring it to you today, really has to do with a reminder as our water community grows and incorporates new people, from different water uses, and then younger generations or people that are just getting interested in water because of whatever reason, the ongoing drought, et cetera. Just a good reminder for us all to how we should be behaving and respecting each other as we have differing opinions and differing priorities. And so, I think last year when it was brought up, I had missed that meeting, and with COVID and all the things we had going on with the BIP, I asked Alden if our Basin Roundtable ever took any action on this, and he couldn't recall, and I checked the minutes, I couldn't find it on there. So I just wanted to bring it back to this group and just ask if we were ripe to incorporate it into our bylaws. As all of our members know, and new members alike, but also our members of the public that are here on Zoom and hopefully back in person one day. This is a great place to learn about how the Basin, our bylaws, that is, great place to learn about how our bylaws work, how the Basin Roundtable works, how people are appointed, where they're from, you know, how we run our meetings, when our meetings need to be, et cetera, et cetera. So incorporating this into the bylaws also is a, you know, serves as a reminder to the public at large that, you know, we value these respectful traits and integrate them into our work. And so that's simply what it is. And I think the majority of other Basin roundtables have incorporated this. I haven't gotten any response from any of them that said they haven't. So anyway, that's really what this is here for. I don't know, Al, if it's an action item. Now I can't find the agenda on my screen. And here it is.
I guess
Okay.
I didn't put it, I'm sorry, I guess I didn't put it as an action item, but I just presumed in addition to the bylaws,
Yeah. If we're, sure, and I found it, so I'm happy to screen share if that's allowable.
Yeah, Patrick could help, or Megan could help you out with that. So I thought it was in our book, our board.
Yeah,
packet.
it's in the book, but if anyone needs it up
Okay.
as a reminder, it's up to you how you'd like to do it, or if there's any reflections on this. That's this item as far as I'm concerned, and I look forward to hearing people's thoughts on it.
Have one, somebody's got their hand up, but Callie, I think it's you that have your hand, that has your hand up.
It is. Excuse me, thank you. So I guess the question I would have is this something that is required by CWCB? I guess I think it's common sense. I don't know that it needs to be in our board, in our bylaws. So I guess I would just struggle to say we need to amend bylaws with this because it's simple common sense. And I think everybody understands that and abides by it.
Yeah, thanks, Callie. You know, I don't think that it is a requirement per se, but having, you know, been on the roundtable myself quite some time and attended meetings, you know, we do, I think it's going on 15 years, or I don't know, however long this thing's been going on, -1. You know, there are heated discussions, and especially as the drought continues, I think, yes, it's common sense, but also I have been the chair of the bylaw committee for 8 or 9 years, and it's not hard to make these additions. It's my request that we seriously consider making this change into our bylaws, and I appreciate your sentiment on this. I agree that it is common sense, but I also don't see that it doesn't us any harm. So you know, that's my thought, and I guess we have differing opinions, but if other people want to weigh in on their thoughts in this, or not to put Director Gibbs on the spot, but if he has any comments about it, or if any of this, I can't see who else is on, but.
We have 2 other hands up in the air here. I think Steve had his hand up and Ken did. I think Ken, Steve, you had yours up first. Steve, do you what did you have for input, sir?
So Jackie, if it goes in the bylaws, how do you see it fitting in there? I know you're the bylaws committee for a long time. Is it, would you drop it in as another article, or how do you see that? How do you see us fitting this code of conduct into our bylaws?
Yeah, thanks, Steve. So I personally would recommend that it go in where we talk about conflicts of interest, just in that grouping, and it would be a paragraph under that. That's where I would suggest it goes in.
So you're thinking you wouldn't put the document as what you shared for the notes in there, but you'd kind of rewrite that to more fit the bylaw look? Is that the thought?
Yep. I think that there's the section, under the code of conduct portion of this that has the bulleted points through best practices and the definitions. I think, it is a little bit lengthy, but such is the nature of, of bylaws, I suppose, but also anytime you have an attorney touch something, which I know our bylaws are the product of the former attorneys that used to be on this board. So I don't see an issue with it. We've never, been concerned about the length of the bylaws in our changes in the past, but I think we can fit them in there nice and neatly.
Okay, thank you.
Sure.
Ken, what's on your mind?
Well, the Upper Yampa Water Conservancy District tackled this because of feedback that we had received that we weren't like always friendly and cuddly. And that's kind of the nature of a lot of the discussions that we occasionally have. So, but I do believe that we ended up with a 14-page director's manual that explains the types of behaviors that we expect when we work with each other, with the general manager, with the staff, with the public, etc. And I think is a very useful document, and it just clarifies that yes, we do acknowledge that these are important things and that our behavior is not just our own observations, but it's how it's perceived by other people. And so for that reason, I'd like to propose a motion to ask the bylaw committee to bring a draft of the document for a code of conduct using the Colorado Water Conservation as a template and bring it back to the meeting in March. That's my motion.
And Ken, do you want to have that added to the bylaws?
Yes.
As opposed, okay.
Yeah,
I just want to be clear on that.
we'd have a draft of the specific language as an action item for an amendment to the bylaws.
Okay.
I guess I would second that if
Okay.
no one else is eager to do so.
So we do have a motion in a second. I guess I have a couple of comments if I could. And I'm not opposed to what's doing that. I've been part of a meeting here to where we actually had a fist fight outside the old VFW there in Craig once at that old yellow building. That's the passion that actually drives water. And I understand that. I've seen it. I've been part of it. So I know how we can kind of get a little bit passionate as we move forward with this. And I can actually touch something on here that I'm wondering, and it's just a thought here. We have a membership handbook that's on our Roundtable website, and is it appropriate or more appropriate to insert it there rather than to our bylaws? Because that would outline exactly what is expected within the membership handbook from them. Because it does include the Robert Rules of Order, a quick reference guide to that within the membership handbook that does include, how meetings are supposed to lay out. Ethics is part of that as well, kind of. And that Robert's Rules of Order does carry out within our bylaws as well. And I'm just questioning, is the bylaws the most appropriate place, or is it something that we could put into our membership handbook and make it very clear that this is how we're going to run, and this is where you're supposed to act? Feedback, am I wrong? Because I'm not opposed to either way, just so you know that. Callie, I didn't see who had their hand up first.
So I don't know. I guess I certainly don't see it that it belongs in the bylaws. I don't think that's the right place for it. In the handbook, perhaps. I guess I just want to reiterate, I agree. I mean, water is a hot and dry topic. But I guess I don't want to discourage people from being open and honest. And I mean, we all expect everybody to have respect, but we deserve to have, if we don't have passion, we don't have any business being in this business or on this roundtable. So I guess I'm still just concerned with it, but I would absolutely support it going into a handbook. I wouldn't say I would support that, but I certainly would be easier for me to do that than the bylaws.
Okay. Jackie, you're leading this discussion. Is there other
Sure.
feedback you have?
Yeah, I guess, maybe what I failed to outline properly is that the document applies. So there was a question earlier about whether or not we have to adopt it. That is still a no answer, but this applies whether we adopt it or not. And because it does touch on our grantees and the expected, I don't want to use the word behavior. I don't know that it's the proper word right now, but it's been a long day as always when we get to these meetings. So my eloquence has probably gone down the drain. I think that it does belong in the bylaws. I think handbooks are great, but this allows the public to understand how we work through our meetings and the expectations that we as a group rely on to do our work in the best possible way. And if code of conflict of interest and the other expectations that we lay out in there that are not necessary. I mean, I don't know. Sorry, I haven't read the handbook. I would say that if it's the wish of the roundtable to go into the handbook, so be it. If there's support to put it in the bylaws, then let's do it. I'm not going to die on the sword, or the hill. So we've got a motion. We're in discussion right now, and we can move forward at the wishes of the roundtable. I don't want to take up too much time here with this topic.
Commissioner Moyer.
Hello, everybody. Gary Moyer from Rio Blanco County. I've been involved in a number of state and national organizations and worked on bylaws in the past. And quite frankly, with all due respect, I've never seen a code of conduct in a set of bylaws. I can certainly understand it possibly being in an operational handbook, but I think your bylaws are more about how the organization is structured to operate. And I think code of conduct, excuse me, is a step beyond that. So I would oppose it being in the bylaws. I could certainly support it being in a handbook or something along those lines. Thank you.
Thank you. Steve? Steve, you got your hand up again, or is that a left?
Yeah, no, I took it up again. So I was looking at our bylaws, and most of our bylaw pieces where Jackie's talking about putting that, there's like a code of ethics, a disclosure of conflicts. We could add a section 4, and I'm wondering if we couldn't write and to be honest, our code of ethics is one sentence. Our disclosure of conducts is one sentence with links going to, the appropriate CRS notations. I'm just wondering if we would add a section 4, write a sentence or so, and then put the majority of the document as what it's in our meeting materials over in the handbook. That way it's in the bylaws as being adopted, but the meat and potatoes of the document would be over in the handbook, if that would maybe make sense.
Steve, I think that's a great suggestion. I'm certainly supportive of that.
Yeah, I would agree with that. In fact, that was what I was going to offer to do. So I will amend my motion to put a reference to the code of conduct in the bylaws, but the document in its entirety would be in our handbook. That's the amended motion.
And I would still second that amended motion.
Okay, we have Commissioner Moyer. Is that a leftover hand up, or do you have some additional input, sir?
No, I'm sorry, I'm done.
No worries. Any other discussion? Otherwise, we do have a question on the table.
So can you repeat that, Alden? And again, I guess my question is, so who's the enforcer of that? The board, the roundtable itself, and we would bring up a question. So, you know, who's the enforcer of that? So I'm good with where we're heading here. So that's fine, whatever.
Doug, I was a bouncer back in the 70s and early 90s. I'd rather not have to be one here with this group.
Yes, indeed.
But somebody's got to be able to bring it to their attention if somebody's out of line. So, and I'm not opposed to that, but
Sorry, I'm just looking at the chat, and Director Sakata, has just noted that there is a typo from the version that we have, and that we must not have the most accurate version. There's only one change. On the last line of the first paragraph of the mission, the word conservation should be changed to discussions. He may have meant conversations, sorry. The mission here.
okay. So Doug, to answer your question, it sounds like the motion that we have, and somebody please correct me if I'm wrong, is to add a section 4 draft language for section 4 sentence that references the code of conduct, and then have the actual code of conduct fully outlined within the Basin Roundtable handbook, the membership handbook.
And that the bylaw committee will work on this and bring it back for adoption in March, or are you ready to vote on it right now to add it?
I think I'd like to see something added into section 4 and actually see how this is all going to lay out. So.
Okay. And then to answer Doug's question, I don't know if it was open-ended, but I think it's, you know, like most of the work we do, we try to keep ourselves in check. And if it gets far enough that there is a major concern, I'm sure that the state can assist us with how we work through this. And additionally, our chair here and future chairs will have to navigate, you know, difficult situations if they arise, and that's just part of the task. So, but, you know, I think first and foremost is that we lay the expectations out, just like in a conflict of interest situation, and then we do our best to self-police, and hopefully we don't ever come across the day where we have to pull these items out of the bylaws and work through them in a more direct way.
So knowing that this is going to commit,
I really appreciate that, and I'm good with that. I'm all good. So again, get ruled off the island or whatever. You know, I think Callie said it very well. This is very passionate times, very passionate world that we're in right now, and somehow we need to be able to say our piece too. So again, we need to be able to say it in respectful ways. My values, your values, or somebody else's values of what that respectable might be different. But and again, I guess we hold our contractors out to those same valuations as well. So I'm struggling with some of that. So thank you.
Okay, knowing that this is going back to a bylaws committee, it would be appropriate to table this discussion until we get this further resolved until the next meeting, or it goes to the agenda for Basin Roundtable review for final adoption. Am I correct in that?
I don't think we have to table it. It just is, the motion was to have the committee work on it and bring back a formal proposal for adoption in March.
Okay, thank you. Any other feedback?
Yeah, I
All
guess I
right.
just would agree with Ken that this gives us direction to put it into the bylaws instead of to have that conversation again in March.
Not a problem. Do you have adequate committee members?
Oh, I'll track them down.
No doubt
I'll
about it.
help, Jackie.
Okay.
Thank you.
Can we get a list of who those members are, please?
You know, I don't know that we ever, I think it was an on the fly committee. So when we were working on these bylaw updates, and so I think we'll probably have to send out a call for committee members through Megan here, and everybody will have the opportunity to join that committee that is interested, including members of the public if they so desire.
Okay. With that, let's call the question. All in favor of sending this to the committee to get revised for addition to the bylaws and to the membership handbook, signify by saying aye.
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 Opposed, signify by saying nay.
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 I think we're gonna need to do a roll call. It's hard to say. We've got, I couldn't tell you how many were on either side, so. Megan?
Sorry, I was just making notes here. Do you guys, those that said nay, would you just shoot me a message? I think that's gonna be the easiest way.
Excuse me, I hate to interrupt, but when you say shoot me a message, I'm not sure what you're referring to.
Oh, sorry, in the chat. Or we could just
All right,
take a
thank
couple.
you.
Yep, thanks.
Or we could have all those in favor just raise their hand and then do a count that way. If you're good with sending the chat, we'll move on. We got folks raising their hands now, so.
Okay, I think I've got them.
Are we raising our hand for the motion or
In
the
favor
nay
of,
motion?
yes, sir. In
in
favor of.
favor of? Okay.
Repeat.
Okay,
the
so
motion was to send it back to the bylaws committee and to come back with another firmer discussion.
Correct.
Yep, and I've got 3 nays, it looks like. Doug, Kelly, and Gary.
Okay.
so are we supposed to be raising hands or what? I'm confused.
No, raise hands for those in favor of it. And we can do the same thing here for those opposed if you would like. This is virtual meetings that make it kind of a bugger.
How do you raise a hand?
Go over to at the bottom of the screen, Chuck, there's a reactions. And under the if you hit the reactions, it'll give you an opportunity to raise or lower your hand.
Thank you, sir.
Megan, give me the green light when you're comfortable, and when you're done raising your hand and you get counted, let's everybody lower their hand then, please. Just click the button again, Chuck.
Yeah, the hands are hard because we've got a lot of people that aren't members.
No worries. Okay.
I will email those of you that said nay. And right after we get off tonight, and if you don't get an email from me, please reach out because that means I missed you. But I think that's going to be, and then that way I'll confirm what I have in my notes here. Sorry.
So moving forward, let's actually have votes because I think we're confused here. I don't know that we're getting a good representation. So
Thank you. And that's where I'm going. Do we need to do just a roll call vote and move on and be done with it?
No, remember, it sounds like there's 3 nays. There could be a couple more, but there's probably a majority that just say, let's move
Correct.
forward with writing up something and we're going to vote on it again in March.
Okay. Moving on. Okay, let me get my agenda back here again. All right, now we got consideration of action and roundtable projects. So Executive Director Gibbs, sorry for the delay. We had planned on having you here a little bit ago, but we had a little earlier, but we got a lively crew tonight. So, we look forward to hearing what you have to say. So please, welcome. We look forward to listening to what you have to say. Thank you.
Great, Alden. Yeah, thanks so much for having me. I really appreciate it. I'm Dan Gibbs, the Executive Director of the Department of Natural Resources. See a lot of familiar faces. Really appreciate you all stepping up to be a part of looking at the vision and really important water future for the Yampa-White and Green. Yeah, just appreciate your conversations. Also, I want to thank Jackie Brown for stepping up and being a part of CWCB. She does a tremendous job representing the basin for you all. Hey, I know many of you, but for the folks I don't know, I just want to really introduce myself and then provide some time that we can just kind of see what's on your mind, especially in my new role as IBCC chairman. But the Department of Natural Resources, just so you know, we have quite a few different divisions. We handle everything from State Land Board. The charge of that is to bring in money for K through 12 education. Last year, we brought in about $178 million. We regulate oil and gas through the Oil and Gas Conservation Commission. And then we also regulate all other extractive industries through the Division of Reclamation, Mining, and Safety. So everything from coal mining, silver, gold, aggregate. Then we have 43 state parks, and we manage all wildlife through Colorado Parks and Wildlife. Many of you have worked with CPW throughout the years. And then on the waterfront, we have Division of Water Resources. So you probably work a lot very closely with some of the water commissioners in your communities. And then the Water Conservation Board, our water policy setting body of the state. And then we also have Colorado Avalanche Information Center. So for you snowmobile and kind of backcountry skier enthusiasts, or just folks traveling from point A to point B, they provide really important up-to-date information on potential avalanche risks in regions throughout the state. And then last but not least, we have a Division of Forestry, and that's really run through the Colorado State Forest Service. They are a very important partner, and we have a MOU that kind of shares the understanding of the DNR and the State Forest Service. I believe Ron Kuzno, I think, is speaking after me. Ron's a longtime friend, and he's really awesome at the State Forest Service. So that's kind of everything that the DNR has oversight over. In short, we handle land, water, wildlife, oil and gas, and minerals. But I'm really here with you all today because last October, the governor appointed me to be the new chairman of the Interbasin Compact Committee. So I've been really busy meeting with all the basins throughout the state. I really wish I could see you all in person. But hopefully, for your next meeting, I'll be in your basin, kind of listening and hearing and working together. A little bit about myself. I lived in Gunnison as a kid, so I've been a West Sloper for a long time. And more recently, I served as a Summit County Commissioner. I was elected 3 times for that. I'm a former outdoor adventure guide, would take people everything from ice climbing to whitewater rafting and kayaking. And then 2006, I got certified as a wildland firefighter. So I'm currently part of what's called the IROC system, the Interagency Resource Ordering Capability, where I could be called up to fight fires in Colorado or, anywhere throughout the West. I've really enjoyed, having that experience because, fires have such huge impacts on everything that the DNR does, whether it's impacts the wildlife or water quality and quantity. And so I'm really glad I've kept my certification up for that. Before that, I served in the legislature, served in both the House and Senate. My House seat was House District 56, and that included Summit, Eagle, and Lake counties. And then I moved to the state Senate and had Summit, Grand, Gilpin, Clear Creek, Western Jefferson County, Western Boulder County. And that was really interesting being a West Sloper like you all, because at that point I had to kind of like straddle the divide, if you will, hearing from, the water community on the Front Range, but also on the West Slope. Most importantly about me, I'm married with 2 little wonderful kids. My wife is out of town for a couple of days, so don't be surprised if my 4-year-old, who's right down the hall, or my 7-year-old come and jump on my lap. That will be my time to like take off quickly. But being the executive director of the Department of Natural Resources, gives me an opportunity to travel around the state to really hear what's really going on in local communities and how best the DNR can really help communities, and really kind of recognize a lot of the challenges that we have with the state of Colorado. I mean, we have, and you all experience it on the West Slope, but about 70,000 new people moving to the state a year, drier, warmer climate, stress on our forests, stress on our water supplies or rivers. And so that's all those issues, the DNR works on, to say the least. And thinking of being on the ground is really wonderful. I saw some of you out last summer for the Yampa-White-Green Basin's drought tour. Kelly Romero-Heaney is my assistant director. You all know Kelly well. And Kelly really worked with our partners at Department of Agriculture and some of you I know in this meeting to help, put together a really great tour. I know the governor was really impressed, and really important to spend some time in your basin that I know has seen some challenges. But just thinking of some of the challenges, I know that things are remaining dry, but things are looking a little bit better than last year so far. And I was just checking out the numbers for snowpack for your basin, and I curse you all because you are at 122% of average right now, and I live in the Colorado Basin. We're 121, so you beat me by 1%. So the South Platte's 119, the Rio's at 92%. But let's keep our fingers crossed that the snow continues, because we all know how important it is. But I'm glad you're all beating the Colorado right now. But just thinking of the challenges that we have for water, and especially as my role as the new head of the Interbasin Compact Committee, really look forward to sharing information, working as information sharing with all the different basins to cooperate and really look at solutions to face that we can deal with for our Colorado River challenges. As your IBCC representative, you speak for the basins of this forum. But you all know the IBCC has served as a de facto work group on issues like proportionality considerations for demand management. They're helping to provide input to IBCC to help inform the CWCB's board decision-making on a roadmap of this. And I've been really, trying to look through the Basin implementation plans to really get a better understanding of, where we can find some common themes. And I've been really excited to see some of the common themes on issues that are really near and dear to my heart. For example, the nexus between forest health and water supplies. And just thinking of that component in itself, we all know, just looking at the Marshall fire just a few weeks ago, but the 2010 fires, it just takes one drought season, one unattended campfire, and we're going to have another catastrophic wildfire. So, regarding that, really happy that last year, with really strong bipartisan support, the legislators supported Senate Bill 258. And that was kind of a groundbreaking, really a new way to add to the capacity of what we could do for kind of forest health and wildfire mitigation. We added some other bills too that added, money and resources for the State Forest Service. There were bills that added money and resources for the Division of Fire Prevention Control. And then we did the same within the Department of Natural Resources. So what that bill did, it created this mechanism where we're able to create what's called the Colorado Strategic Wildfire Action Program. In short, we call it COSWAP. And with that, it created about $17 million of state stimulus funds that are meant to get projects off the ground immediately. So the COSWAP is really looking at critical investments and fuel reduction, and also tied into workforce component too, including the Department of Corrections. We have a plan to work with them and actually quadruple what they have is called their SWIFT crews. And then the legislation also has us work with state and federal agencies to complete a rapid fuels reduction assessment to really priority key locations, around the state. And so we have some key locations identified. But also individual counties or HOAs can also apply to get projects done, anywhere in the state too. There's 3 funding opportunities that are available. One is through the Department of Corrections through that SWIFT crew funding. Those funding applications, that's for the entire state. So it can be used on federal, tribal, state, county, municipal land, you name it. Then we also have the Colorado Youth Corps Association crew funding. That's going to be directed towards some of our other key locations in the state, including Boulder, Jefferson, Larimer, La Plata, Teller counties, plus the 3 Rocky Mountain Restoration Initiative locations. And that's the Southwest Colorado, Upper Arkansas, and South Platte areas. And then we're going to have the landscape scale fuel reduction projects, and that will be solicited from the strategic priority areas. Concurrently, last year we had Senate Bill 240 passed, and Governor signed that into law June 15th, 2021. That appropriated $30 million to the CWCB for the Watershed Restoration and Mitigation Grant Program. That program is just amazing. We've been able to get, looking at Kelly, over, I think it's $22 million so far, I believe, on the ground to help with some of the water impacts and challenges as a result of the Cameron Peak, East Troublesome, Grizzly Creek. I can't remember if Pine Gulch Fire was also included in some of those funding, but some of the funding, went to some of the key locations from big fires from last year. We also have Water Conservation Board's Chris Sturm has convened an interdisciplinary team of subject matter expertise to develop the wildfire ready watershed state susceptibility analysis. And so their work is really intended to work with communities like yours and around the state to better understand fire related watershed risk in your basin. So be on the lookout, and some of you may be already working with Chris on that. And then just Also, just, some of the budget proposals too that we're going to see for this coming year is really exciting to help get, projects off the ground and so forth. In particular, our water plan grant program. Governor submitted a proposal to include 4 additional FTE for regional grant managers, plus 2 FTE for administrative contracting. Also, we have 3 FTE for the Division of Water Resources water accounting coordinators for the highly over appropriated South Platte, Arkansas, and Rio Grande basins. And then a lot of people don't realize, but State Land Board actually has a pretty large water portfolio. And so part of our budget request is to include an FTE to have someone that can manage that water portfolio. And then last but not least, at least in terms of water, the DNR has teamed up with the Department of Agriculture on a proposal for stimulus funding that would support groundwater recovery for the Republican and Rio Grande basins. So in short, I just want to thank you for your time. I want to see, if you have any questions. I have my assistant director, as I mentioned, Kelly Romero-Heaney. I know you've worked with her for years. We're excited to have her part of the state on my team. Also, I want to give an important shout out to Russ Sands. Russ, you always do just an amazing job of working with other roundtables, and I'm really excited to be in my new role as IBCC chair and be able to work with you closer and get to know you more. And it's going to be a fun ride, to say the least. So with that, I just want to open it up to any questions you may have, and then I know you want to hear from my good friend Ron Cousineau, and I see John Twitchell there too. So good to see very important partners with the State Forest Service. They just do an amazing job. So any questions for me? That are water related, not wolf, no, I'm joking. Anything's open.
Not wolves? No, that's okay.
Just
I understand.
has a
We're a
couple
water
for me
group.
on that, I think.
We'll save that for another day. So Ken, I see you have your hand up, sir.
Well, congratulations on your new responsibilities with the IBCC. I'm sure you have a lot of spare time on your hands. How would you characterize your response at the IBCC to the negotiations for the interim guidelines for the Colorado River Compact? And also, do you have any other large projects that you are trying to focus on in this year?
Ken, right now, as new chair, I'm really working hard to, listen to all the basins, really look for these common themes, that are popping up. And part of, the big charge of, IBCC, as is really look at, intra-basin, themes that we can work together on. And so I'm really having a fun time actually, looking through these plans and looking for these common themes. As I mentioned, as you heard before, the forest health and watershed health, I've been working on those issues for years. I really see that as, something really exciting that I could really use the water community's help on, honestly. The more consensus that we can find, the more partners that we can find, the right locations, the right scale to do meaningful work. I'm going to sound probably similar to what Ron and John are probably going to say after me, but getting those right projects off the ground and having local consensus is huge. When it comes to Colorado, river, compact issues, as Becky Mitchell is my lead for that, and so she is working extremely hard. She's not on this call right now, and but I would gush over her whether she was on it or not, but she has been working extremely hard to really bring the whole state together. And she has a group of water advisors that she's really stressed, instead of, we know what the West Slope, we know what the Front Range, we know some of the tension that has always existed, but what do we really all agree on? And that really helps her out, as the lead negotiator for Colorado. So, I'm happy to have some side conversations with you, Ken, anytime, but right now, my new role, it's really, hearing from you all, I want to hear, what I need to know about, as being the new chair, what are the issues that are popping, for your basin?
Well, I should then take a moment to give a shout out to Pat O'Toole's project up in Big Red Park. He's got, that 100,000 acre proposal that is, that's a scale that we can actually probably really learn something from. The Upper Yampa Water Conservancy District is doing some watershed work, but it's more related to water quality. But we're certainly beginning to get that ball rolling here in the basin. Thank you.
Yeah, thanks, Ken.
Frank, I believe you had your hand up next.
I do. Thanks, Alden. Hey, Dan, appreciate all the information. I actually manage the Mount Warner Water Treatment Plant, and I was not here for the drought tour that Kelly and your team put together, but I appreciate you stopping in and seeing a little bit of our activity here in the neck of the woods. And I also appreciate all the funding and all the different avenues to take advantage of grants and funding that will help support this nexus that you talk about between forest health and water quality, which is pretty near and dear to my heart because all of our water comes from the Fish Creek watershed, and it's really 90+% of our water. And so a lot of good things happen at the state level, but I wanted to get your input, if you have any, on Senator Bennett's bill that he introduced, the Outdoor Restoration Partnership Act. Do you have an update on that, or is there good momentum on that? I know it's a big federal bill at $60+ billion, but there's a lot of money that's been earmarked if that would ever get passed for projects of this nature. So I was curious your feeling on that.
Yeah, Frank, I am familiar with it. I know if it did pass, it would be, very meaningful for Colorado. I just don't know the latest with it. I don't know where it's at with the hearing process. Actually, I did chat with John Whitney. He's kind of covers the West Slope and much of the state for Senator Bennett, but we're chatting about other issues today.
Our roundtable did sign a letter of support for that.
Okay. Yeah, since you brought up, federal, like we have a whole team. I have a new recovery director. And so, just with the federal infrastructure, who knows what happens with the Reconciliation Act, and that's kind of stalled in Congress. But we know that the federal infrastructure bill passed that included everything from, $500 million for mechanical thinning treatments, $500 million for controlled location fuel breaks on federal lands, $500 million for prescribed burning on federal lands, $200 million for rapid post-fire recovery, $100 million for pre-planning response workshops, $600 million for federal wildland firefighter salaries. The list goes on. And so we are working hard to just get a good understanding of, how we apply for everything for Colorado. And so, we have a whole team of folks that are really doing some deep dives, and the Treasury actually just came out with their guidelines just I want to say just late last week, or maybe it was just on Monday, but just recently. So we're looking at that because some of the programs are brand new, and some of the Fed programs are already existing, programs. So we know how those operate, but we're not leaving any stone unturned. We really want to bring in as much, federal funding as possible.
Great. Well, that's good to hear. I appreciate that.
Yeah. Thanks, Rick.
Anyone else? Okay, hearing none. Thanks. Thank you, Executive Director Gibbs.
Yeah, thanks, Alden. And look forward to working with you all. And hopefully we can get on the schedule for me to meet you all in person in the very near future. And I'll also reach out, I get around the state pretty often. I'll reach out to you all too when I'm, in the northwest part of the state.
Thank you. I hope, Jennifer, you got something you want to visit with about?
No, I was just saying thanks. Thumbs up.
Okay.
Good job.
No worries. No worries. Thank you. So, all righty.
Great. Thanks.
Look forward to working with you more, sir. All right.
Likewise.
Ron, I see you there, and John, I believe you're going to be presenting a little bit here. So I know I've participated in a couple of presentations here, and Ron brings quite a bit of energy. And he's about forest management, and as you know, but he's got a couple of unique things going on here that I think are interesting. I don't know how many of you work with him, but we're starting to see a little bit more traction here from our state forest service to get some things done. So I'll shut up and let you guys have the floor and share what you want with our group. So thank you for joining us tonight.
You bet. Hey, and thanks, Alden. Hey, does everybody have a copy? John, can you hear me? Just making sure. Okay, thanks. Anyway, yeah, Alden, well, first, let me introduce myself. My name's Ron Kuzno. I'm a forester with the Colorado State Forest Service, and I work with my colleague, John Twitchell, and he and I work together with our group of foresters all over Northwest Colorado. And recently we were at another group's, the White River Group's meeting over in Rangeley not too long ago. And I brought one of my foresters, and we kind of laid out our approach for landscape scale management. You know, we talked about how we identify landscapes in need of treatment based on the resource, on the health of the forest resource, and then kind of how we progress and treat acres on the ground using the various programs and funding sources that we have available to us. And you guys have all heard we have the potential of more funding coming our way. And if that's the case, that's going to be a good thing, because when I look at the map, and I've got your website open here, we spent a lot of time in Routt County as a group of foresters, as the State Forest Service. And, we get out into Moffett and Rio Blanco, but we don't serve that landscape as much as we should. And, I've been out here 30 years, but I've been recently heavily introduced to this neck of the woods, especially the Upper White River and the conditions that exist there, and really the needs for forest management in that landscape. And we really are working hard at expanding our influence out in these watersheds so that we can get some good work done on the ground and hopefully have a good positive impact over time as we link treatments across the landscape. And we do that through a variety of programs, working cross boundary with the BLM, with private landowners, with the U.S. Forest Service. And there's a lot of opportunity to get really good work done out here. And Alden and everybody that you may have been introduced to me before, I mean, we're really excited about this group and your groups out here. You guys have energy. It's not me, Alden, with the energy. It's you guys with the energy and the involvement. It's truly, for me, it's pretty exciting to see that. So yes, we are going to have a heavier influence out in these landscapes in the coming months, and hopefully it's just months and not years as we expand our influence. But my colleague here, John Twitchell, he's the field office manager, and he's the real forestry expert in Northwest Colorado. John's going to fill you in on a few things we've got going on, but as you guys know, and Alden, as you know, I'd like to have a little interaction, and we really are going to be open to questions and comments, and we want to know what you guys want to know from us. Well, we have this group here. So, hey, John, if you want to kind of give them a little more detail on a few topics, that'd be good. Thanks.
All right, Ron. Well, thanks for that. Yeah, so I'm John Twitchell. And as Ron said, we've worked together actually for a long time in different capacities. And we're fortunate we have a pretty good group of foresters here in the Northwest. And it's an exciting time to be a forester. We've always understood the link between watershed and forest health. So many different things the forest brings us. It's our recreation, it's our water quality, it's clean air, it's all these things. And we've always sort of intrinsically understood those. And I think most people have, but they haven't been under threat the way they have been. With different mountain pine beetle epidemic and spruce bark beetle epidemic and other issues of forest health that that have really jumped to the forefront. And so after years of sort of, laboring out in the woods, which is what we do, we're finding ourselves in the spotlight a little bit. And that's okay. We're up for the challenge. We're more than up for the challenge. I see a lot of familiar faces on this. I noticed, Ken gave a shout out to Pat O'Toole. That's a very exciting project. We are, I think, on the cusp of really achieving some of the pace. You hear this term pace and scale, and it makes sense. Our reactions and our moving forward needs to be somewhat commensurate with the scale of the problem. And we just went through 2 years ago, the East Troublesome, the Mullen Fire, and the Cameron Peak, all in 1 year. Pretty impactful fires, and really got everyone's attention. So I'll keep my remarks fairly short, because I do hope, like Ron said, there's some interaction, some questions. Here's some thoughts I have. That one, I think that there is a lot of money out there, and that's good, but we also, as foresters, we also like to see that carbon get sequestered, right? We don't always like to see it go up in smoke. So Colorado doesn't have the most robust forest industry in the country, but it does have industry. And in the Northwest, there's some pretty hot spots of activity right now. And so I see that along with grants. And one of our challenges is not to cut our own throats, right? I mean, if you're working in the forest as a logger, let's say, and you have the option of buying timber or being paid to cut the timber, it's kind of a no-brainer in most cases. So that's a challenge for us sometimes, because government has inadvertently stepped on its own toes at times, where we're shoving money at people. And at the same time, forest industry needs to have a consistent supply of timber, so they're willing to pay for it. So to me, that's one of the great challenges, is not just how do we meet the moment, but how do we meet the moment and keep meeting the moment into the future. So what do we do that's sustainable, that becomes the new normal, if you will, in managing strategic portions of the forest. We're not talking about turning Colorado's forest into a tree farm. That will never happen anyway. But let's be strategic, and let's save as much money as we can by making sure industry gets part of the solution, because they are part of the solution. So a couple of things that are happening, just to bring you up to speed. Believe it or not, we still sell dead lodgepole wood. It still gets sawn into very usable products. And that, by the way, sequesters carbon, but it's also helping us remove some fuels from the landscape. And as Ron said, working with the Forest Service and with the BLM and state trust lands and private landowners, we try to connect those dots. And I think we're doing a good job. I'm excited that we can scale it up. We need more foresters, and we need, frankly, more industry. But there are some exciting things on the horizon. In Northwest Colorado, in Kremling, we have Colorado Timber Resources, CTR. They have made some investments recently that tell us that they're in it for the long haul. And that's an important tool for the future forest health of Colorado. When we talk about scale, we have to talk about the supply of wood that comes off. We need to do something oftentimes when we're removing those fuels, if we're removing them. There's some treatments that don't remove them, but if we're removing them, having some outlets, and ideally outlets that at least pay for the freight of moving the wood. So as an old friend of mine has always said, and forgive me if some of you heard me say this, but easier to heal the sick than raise the dead. So we do have industry. Let's not lose it. Let's use it to our advantage as we move forward. And And then we have some exciting initiatives, and we'll see where they go. Director Gibbs actually recently pointed XL Energy in our direction, in the State Forest Service's direction. And XL Energy is looking at the next step after the coal is no longer, and particularly the plants in Hayden and the power plants in Hayden and Craig. And in the short term, we're looking maybe at planning around Craig to potentially, and there's several things on the table, so I don't want to get too ahead of the curve here, but potentially to use wood, and that low value wood, a lot of that wood that we're removing in fuel treatment projects. If that could be used for energy, clean energy, and produce jobs at the same time, that's pretty exciting. So yeah, we're excited. The first thing we do is always try to look at what's practical, what's pragmatic, what's economical. Can we sell the wood? Can we at least get some value for the wood to help increase the scale of what we need to achieve, which is considerable. We really need to pick it up from what we're doing. So yeah, Ron asked me to be on just to give you a little flavor of what I see, and surprisingly, and I see some Moffat County folks, Jeff, and Tom out there. You know, we've got a mill in Moffat. We've got several initiatives in Moffat. That's pretty exciting. I hope that some of this money helps heal that sick, and not that they're that sick, but the point is we have something already. If we can utilize some of that, that will fit well, and we'll still need to, unfortunately, we'll still need to spend money to do treatments that are not going to be in the black, because frankly, a lot of it is not in the black. But a combination is going to take us a lot further. So that's one of my challenges, and one of the things I'm really interested in is seeing us leverage the money that we have and make it go a lot further by making some use out of the wood if we pull it out of the woods. So that's my short little plug for utilization. But any questions, comments, we're more than happy to field those.
Hey, go ahead, Tom.
Hi, John.
Hey, Tom, how are you?
And Ron, good to see you.
Yeah.
John, I just have a question. You mentioned working with the federal force, U.S. Forest Service,
yes, sir,
on project well, and we don't have as much state force as I wish we did, given the way you guys managed it. Tell us the ways that you're able to work with federal force. Some of us have been kind of, and I want to be clear, our local foresters or the local U.S. Forest Service is in the same, they're with us, but because of federal policies, they're not able to remove a lot of product. Is there anything in the works where you guys can help facilitate getting some of that done on the federal force?
Yeah, you bet. Let me tell you about a couple things, and then Ron will probably want to jump in. I'll just real quickly tell you, Tom, I was talking to a friend of mine the other day saying, I went into state forestry and private forestry because as a young man coming out of college, I didn't want to go through the steps of NEPA. I didn't want to deal with that. Not that it's bad. I'm not making a comment on it. That was not my choice, career choice. And now I spend a lot of time on NEPA these days. So I guess I didn't do a good job of avoiding it, because we have the best tool in our arsenal, Tom, and I think you probably kind of threw a softball for me. The best tool is this Good Neighbor Authority, which allows us to use state processes on federal land, and with contracting and doing some other things. Now, it still has to be, NEPA still has to be done. And right now, so far, we've avoided being the ones to do it, that our federal partners have to do that. But for a variety of reasons, maybe we work cheaper, I'm not sure what it is, but for a variety of reasons, I think we've been very, very productive getting some of that timber off federal ground and actually utilizing it in the local mills. And what's most exciting is we have those agreements, that Good Neighbor Authority, which again, our federal partners have to invite us, but if we're invited, we can use our expertise, and we have the authority to sell the federal timber on their behalf. But everything is managed by our state foresters. And so instead of stopping at a property line because it's private, because we work with the private and we work with the BLM and we work with the state, we have managed just in the last year, and we haven't really increased our foresters, but we've had several thousand acres of mixed BLM, US Forest Service, state land with private timber sales. And they have gone to CTR, they've gone to Saratoga's mill, and some of it's ended up there in Moffett County. Tom, you're getting some of our North Route wood these days going to the wood straw, and Trent's doing a lot more than wood straw. So anyway, yes, those authorities are key. And if those can continue, I think they're a powerful tool. I don't know if you want to add to that, Ron. You got anything to?
Just, recently I met the district ranger down there at the Blanco Ranger District in Meeker, Curtis. And he's interested in this Good Neighbor program. We are not working in that part of the White River right now. And I think that's going to be the next frontier, is working with an interested district ranger. He's got energy, he's got some vision, and part of what we do fits with part of what he does. And also you've got a new a BLM field office manager down there, Bill Mills, whom we worked with when he was in Kremling doing the Good Neighbor agreement with the BLM. So we've got some experience down there that's going to help us really make some good connections and get some work done, or at least get some stuff started here, I think, in the short term. So
hey guys, thanks. I wanted you to talk about that. I thought it was a bright spot for the group to hear about. I'm going to speak for others on the call here, but if you need any support or help, there's many of us in the local communities that are saying, boy, we've said this for years, what can we get going? And I knew about this. So thanks for the update, and hopefully you've planted some seeds for people. Thanks.
You bet. Yeah, and we're really glad that we're being invited to these forums. This is good for us to get our faces out there and try to make these connections. So this is all good. What are you thinking, Alden?
Well, I'm thinking I have a question for you. I guess as I'm hearing you, NEPA is a slow, long process. I understand that. Are there other bottlenecks that you're finding that are impeding your ability to efficiently take care of our forest health? I know you're talking about, I heard about a sawmill over there in Meeker, or not Meeker, Moffett County. I mean, a lot of those have gone by the wayside. What are we able to do with these forest products that you all harvest so that we can help you increase our forest health?
Well, as John alluded to a lot earlier, that's one of the pieces, that's one of the wrenches that gets thrown into what we do, is the ability to effectively and economically utilize the wood. If we have good outlets that can accept the wood and generate revenue from the use of that wood, that really helps us get more work done. But back to NEPA. NEPA is a problem, but there's a bunch of NEPA done down there on the White River in the Meeker country, from what I understand. And that's going to help us. They've been working on some stuff. Curtis has a bunch of acres and, a landscape scale potential treatment that I think is close to being ready to go, but he doesn't have the staff to deal with it. We don't have the staff to deal with it, but maybe together we can. So you've got our capacity, you've got funding problems, you got industry, you've got transportation costs, access issues, willing participants. We can have the the best landscape, in other words, in need of treatment, and that we know what should be done. If we can't get access to it, we're never going to touch it. So we always need willing participants, whether those are private or fed.
So if I could, Alden, this is Doug. So Doug.
Absolutely, Doug.
So, hey, you guys, thank you. And I wanted to pass on to Director Gibbs as well, Senator, Commissioner, Director, and hey, thank you for being part of our meeting tonight. I'm really concerned about the consensus on a healthy forest. And I see in it too. So now we have this new focus. There's coming out of, California. California burned last year because they did all the thinning. That's what caused the burning. And then, I'm really worried. And then, so John Fielder, the infamous Colorado photographer, came out today with another editorial. Well, thinning isn't going to solve our problem. And I'm on board with you guys. I really think, and then we need to put this thing to work somehow for us. And yeah, the fire, the mill up there in Craig is great. I'm getting some great firewood from them, but hey, I just want to have a healthy forest and the rest. And we haven't agreed on that, what that science or somebody hasn't agreed on what that science is for a healthy forest. And I'm really worried about that as it continues to come up. So I'm trying to figure out how we addressed this 2 months ago. We talked about this at our roundtable meeting. And I said, well, it's too early because there's still a lot of negative comments about that. And I'm totally on board with you guys, but somehow we need to get some more ammunition here to figure out how we can portray what the healthy forest is.
Doug,
Go ahead,
I'd like to take a swipe at that. Not to define what a healthy forest is, because that could take us all night. But the reality is there are mixed messages out there, and you're right. Senator Hickenlooper had visited the research lab in Fort Collins a couple months ago, and the headline the next day was, "The state has it all wrong. We shouldn't be managing the forest. We should be burning the forest." And it was just a headline, but it shows you what we're up against. So we were asked about bottlenecks. Well, nothing's that simple. And certainly, I mean, quite frankly, when you talk to do things at scale and talk about 100,000 plus acres in certain areas a year, you're not going to be burning that. People are tired of smoke in the air. And so however desirable it is to use prescribed burning, and we do use it, and it is an important tool, it's not a panacea. By the way, forest management isn't a panacea either. It's not the answer to everything, but I do, sure, I'm a forester. So, if you ask a barber if you need a haircut, he's going to say, sure, you need a haircut. As a forester, I see its function as highly important in preserving the things that we value here in Colorado. And the actual scale, not to get into all the statistics, but the actual scale of what we manage is very, very small compared to what grows in this state every year and the scale of the problem. So yeah, I agree, Doug. It's a mixed message. I think that we ran into it with some of this money, the stimulus money, where I think our political folks are very supportive, but people are careful about saying they support the timber industry sometimes, because that's not necessarily a politically, I don't know, it's not reaching across a broad spectrum where they're trying to get groups from all sides to come together to support this money, and some other activities for some reason are more palatable. So that's a bottleneck. That's a problem for us. But really, Doug, I think that there's a pretty wide public consensus that we need to do something. And most people, I think, if done right and done with a sensitivity to the environment, that forest management is an important tool. I know I don't need to sell you, and we've worked together on some of these issues for years, but it's to me, every day we wake up, it's a new audience of people, and they're hearing different things from different sides. So yes, I listen to the radio, and it's like, oh my God. And you know what? There are situations where logging could exacerbate a fire situation, possibly, for sure. But if that's not what we do, and it's good to recognize that that's an active discussion and something that I think the proof is in the pudding, though, and I think we can show and demonstrate where we've managed and why it's been successful, and take a look at some of these burned over landscapes and see what survived. And oftentimes what's survived is what we managed in the past.
Yeah, that's a good point. And another quick point is we can debate with various groups on what's right and what's wrong, but if we're worried about making a mistake and we just sit on our hands, that's a mistake. Not all forest management is perfect, but we try to use science and experience, those two combined. Forestry is not an exact science. Even today, a lot of what we do is based on our experience working these forest types and these forest conditions in the past, and taking that knowledge, moving it forward. But we can certainly tell you, we don't just manage a piece of land because we can get to it. We try to prioritize, and we use a strategic approach to get treatments on the ground where they're hopefully going to do the best good. Then when it burns, hey, let it burn. So anyway, yeah, we could talk about this for at least all night.
Thanks, gentlemen. I guess I look at forest management like water management, where it's measured in decades. It takes a lot of time to get things done, but we're at a point in our society here to where some of our actions are creating crises, and lack of proper forest management and water management is creating some real issues for our society now today, whether it's smoke in the eyes or what happened over in the Front Range here recently. That's horrible issue, but things we're learning from, and hopefully we can react, as you're saying, and come up with a plan to do something, because not doing anything is not solving our problems. So yeah. Thank you. We've got to move on with our agenda. So gentlemen, thank you very much.
I got a real quick question for you.
Who's speaking?
Yeah, this
Billy?
is Billy Mitzelfeld. Yeah, I'll have to make this kind of quick if I can.
Yes, if you would, please. We've got other items on our agenda, sir. Thank you.
That's right. So we haven't talked at all about the small scale stuff. We just talked about this real big stuff, and that kind of bothers me. I'm just a small landowner, and I'm kind of hoping that I could get some help with coming up with a design to help protect my house. What kind of action can I take to help prevent things from happening? And I think Ron talked about at the start that maybe there was some money available to help prevent some of these problems. Okay, so I just like maybe Ron could make a quick statement about are there some programs that will help the private individual with a small piece of property protect that property and maybe protect his neighbor? So yeah.
Absolutely. So yes, Billy, absolutely. And we still work with homeowner groups and individual landowners. And what we like to do is if you're in a community, whether that's an HOA or just a mountain community with homes, we like to try to get that group together so we can not just work with you, but work with you and your neighbor and their neighbor, and try to coalesce some treatments that are going to protect your community. But we've got publications and information and potential opportunities for grant funding. So Billy, I'm going to ask you to get a hold of one of our State Forest Service offices. I'm not sure what county you're in, but we'll get you in touch with Steamboat.
Yeah, sure, I'll just contact them directly. That'd be great. But
I think we'll get with you.
Also, that I think it's an important point for like the little guy like me. I don't live there.
Absolutely.
So I'm hanging out there big time, and so it'd be nice if I could get a a name or something, somebody I can contact about some kind of grant. So I'll
You
move it.
bet.
That's helpful.
Hey, Billy, also, just to plug for the Natural Resource Conservation Service, that's the NRCS. That's specifically what we do, is work with private landowners on land conservation activities, including forest health. So you could also get with us.
Okay, thank you.
Okay.
Hey, I think that wraps it up. Thank you very much.
Yeah, thanks, Alden. Appreciate it. And thanks, everybody.
Next item, Steve, you've got a WECO education funds request here going up for you.
Okay, Alden, thanks. So we've been requested by WECO to, or been asked by WECO to see if we would provide a letter of support for a grant that they've put in for, hang on a second here. So it's a water plan. So it's not our funds, therefore they only need a letter of support. But it's a Colorado Water Plan Engagement and Innovation Grant request. So we got the information after the first of the year. So I routed it around to all of our grant committee members, and from the grant committee, we were good to bring this letter of support to the full roundtable tonight. Some of the comments that our grant committee had was they wanted to make sure that landowners and ranchers were included. They wanted to stress the importance and notification of traditional agriculture and industry, and we wanted to make sure that it needs a balanced educational perspective. So we've added that to the memo. Patrick, is this the one that we edited?
Yes, it is.
Okay. So the parts in yellow I've changed from their original letter, just because they were asking from the a letter of support from the PEPO committee, and hopefully we'll be able to give them something from the full roundtable. And then we added some verbiage to try to address the concerns of the grant committee. So from the grant committee's perspective, we're good to write a letter of support for this project. But as it really affected the PEPO committee, as well as us, I've been talking with Ken Brenner, and I've asked Ken to say a few words about his research on this project as well, before we would take it to a vote. So Ken, do you want to pipe in?
Yeah, thanks, Steve. And thanks for handling this on short notice. We didn't receive all the information until just this year. So, but the grant committee responded quickly. By far the most substantive comments we received were around, a balanced approach to the message of education, supporting agriculture, as well as municipal, industrial, and recreational and environment. That we thought was a very good and appropriate comment to include. The only other concern that we've had is that the Colorado Water Conservation Board is the source of funds, and they are the statutory group handling the responsibility of water education. The WECO group is a nonprofit NGO that it does a great job of supporting that effort. And we just wanted to ensure that there was a collaboration and a regular communication between the two groups, especially given that this is a 3-year project. And I've had a chance to discuss that with Russ and with Elizabeth. We think that there's probably a couple of different methods that we can use to coordinate those efforts and make sure that we maximize our efficiency and effectiveness by being fully integrated. That's all I have to say. If you guys are comfortable with the language in this letter, we just need a motion for approval and we can move on.
I guess I would add, Alden, that this project, like Ken said, is over 3 years. It's about $439,000 in total. About 50% is coming out of what they're calling the excuse me, it's shoot. So it's $220,000. So it's about $70,000 a year. And it's about a 50-50 split of state funds and of funds that they and their contributors are putting in to the project. So any discussion on that, or can we make a motion, Alden? What do you want to do?
So was the consensus from did you put it through the normal regime that we did all the other grant letters, or was this kind of done, because I know it was short notice, was it done fairly expedited? Did it go through the full process?
Yeah, so 4 of the 5 members of the grant committee have weighed in, and Ken brought it up at today's PEPO meeting, and the PEPO group passed a motion to forward it onto the full committee as well. So I guess hearing no further conversation, I would make a motion that we write the letter of support for this project. They did apply for their grant on December 1st. So in talking to Ben Wade at the state, he thought if we got them something by February 1st, that they would be able to include that in their review for this grant. So I would make a motion that we send the letter of support with the edits as you see there on the screen that Patrick's got up.
Brenner, second.
Any discussion? Hearing none, we have a motion, a second, to approve a letter of support to WECO for the Colorado Water Plan Engagement and Innovation Grant request. All in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Opposed, same sign. Passes. Okay. Good deal.
So that will go through you, Alden.
Yep.
Okay.
I just need a copy of that final letter that you got for a clean one. So.
Okay, Patrick's got it.
Okay, not a problem. So moving on, we're going to move into reports. And I had a request from a couple of individuals where they wanted to hear a little bit more about some of our water initiative processes. So I visited with Callie, and I know she's got a lot of things going on. I think I seen Liz on here as well. That's kind of coordinator of that group as well. So Callie, please enlighten us as to what's going on with your realm.
Well, good evening, everybody. Again, I will try to make it as concise and complete as possible, but it does sound like maybe I've been too concise for some. So we'll see what we can come up with tonight. So I just wanted to kind of back up just a little bit. It's been a while. And so review with everyone. Our total grant was $115,800. From the Basin Roundtable, that was $49,800, and from the state was $66,000. And most of our match was in kind, and that was used, was brought forward from all of our partners that helped to put together and do the assessments of the diversion structure assessments, as well as the riparian health assessments. And so that has been a huge success this year so far. While I was going to run down through the tasks individually, I'll kind of start with those because we had planned to do a minimum of 20 of each of those. So the riparian assessments as well as the diversion structures. And I think we've done 25 or 6 of the diversion assessments and 22 of the riparian health assessments. And we had all local partners from our agriculture producers. I think we had 1, 2, 3 at least local ranchers, landowners that were involved in, I'm going to say 90% of those. So that is a huge commitment of time. And one of your new board members, Chris Collins, was a big piece of that. And so I think many of you know Forrest Nelson. He was a big part of it. And I'm trying to think of who the other couple are, but anyway, they just really committed a lot of time and energy. So not only have they attended our planning meetings, so what we call the PAC, Planning Advisory Committee, they went above and beyond and spent hours and literally days on these other projects. So I can't say thank you enough to all of them. So backing up a step, our first task was to, an ongoing, I shouldn't say first, it's just the biggest task is to do the public outreach. So we scheduled to have like 12 meetings in the 2-year period to have our planning advisory committee meet. And we're about halfway through that. Our goal is to be done with this in about September of this year. Our grant does run through the end of 23 actually, but our plan is to be done with this project before the end of this year so that we can decide what our next steps are and what the next process will be. At this point, we can't tell you that. We are kind of at that stage right now of shifting gears from gathering information to now starting to really set those priorities. You've heard from me before, we've had our mission statement and our goals for some time. And those goals, I don't want to read through the whole thing, but I will just say, our goals are pretty straightforward and really relate to our topics we've been hearing tonight. But first and foremost is protect and preserve water rights. And then to really enhance and protect our water quality and quantity through best management practices, but really focusing on forest health. And that's one of the that's where we met Ron. Well, it wasn't the first place we met Ron. Ron was willing to come and joined a tour that our conservation district put on this summer. And we got to know him a little bit there and got to do a big tour from one end of the county to the other. And then that brought him to speak with our PAC. And we really are pretty excited about what that might bring forward. So I was just texting Liz about things we need to visit with you again, Ron. Thank you for all of your engagement so far. Rangeland health, riparian health, favorable conditions of stream flow. Those are our current list of goals that we want to really focus on. So And then, of course, improvements of infrastructure. So that's why we were doing a lot of the assessments and so forth. And then certainly support and development of maintenance and efficient and necessary long-term storage. So those are, we always go back to that. That's what our group's goals have been. That's what we are maintaining. I will say, we did go out last fall, late fall, I think, and I've got Liz on the call as well, so she can correct me if I get too carried away here. But I think it was last fall, we took that mission and goals back to public meetings in each one of the reaches. We've divided the river into 3 reaches, plus then Piance Creek is a primary tributary. We've got a lot of ranches and so forth. So, excuse me, that is the 4th reach. So we went back to community input meetings in each one of those and vetted that mission statement and our goals. We have a meeting with the PAC next week, and we will be discussing if we are going to amend those goals and mission statement at all based on feedback from the public. As you all know, that's a balancing act because we've already had input from probably at least 100 people in our public meetings throughout our process. And we've really worked hard to kind of encompass what we heard from them. Then you go back out to the public and you get a few new people. And so they have some new ideas. And so that it's going to be a balancing act as to how much those goals and mission statements are balanced, are amended. And that's for the PAC to decide next week. So we will finalize those so that we can begin to move forward. And so that will lead us into really starting to set the priorities and identifying where we're going to go with phase 3. So Liz Chandler is but she has been our PAC coordinator, and we've also had another young lady from down in the Piance Basin, Carrie Brennan. I don't know that Carrie's on tonight. She kind of coordinated all of the assessments and so forth. Just for the record, it's a really big job to coordinate all of the landowners and all of this team, because our teams were anywhere from 5 to 8 people at a time. So not only did she get to coordinate the team with dates and locations, but of course had to have the landowners. And usually we're talking not only the landowner, it's the water right holder, but sometimes that involves another landowner where the diversion structure was. So she had a really big job and did a nice job of that. We have all of those riparian assessments. I'm sorry, the diversion structure assessments are complete. Been submitted back to the water right holder. And we're in the process of doing the same thing with the riparian assessments. I'm expecting those will be done in the next month or 6 weeks. But again, those are big projects to get those finalized. I think I might have mentioned it last time, but we have now solidified, we've got some funding working with the Colorado Cattlemen's, who got a grant through CWCB to help initiate an actual on the ground improvement project for a diversion structure. So we have those grant applications out to all of those landowners, water right holders who participated in our assessments. To date, I don't think I've received any at this point, but we'll be back to visiting with those people, make sure we get some good applications, because we wanted to be sure that we got something started and on the ground to help people understand we're not just studying. Our goal here is to get some real projects on the ground. So once we get these next couple of meetings, again, I said we'll set our priorities, and then Liz has got the big job of getting everybody really dialed in so we can develop what our phase 3 scope of work will look like. And at that point, we will probably be back looking for the next the next steps. I don't know if we'll make this next grant deadline. I'm not sure we're going to be quite there, but maybe we will be. So you'll get that update next time. If there's anything, Liz, anything major that I missed?
I don't think I was just wanted to emphasize that it does look like there are a few people that are very much interested in doing projects based on the assessments that they received. And the River's Edge West has some money for a riparian project on that. So, but like you said, it looks like it's going to turn into some real on the ground projects.
Yep. Thank you. And any questions from Roundtable members?
This is Al. I guess I don't have a question, just as much as some additional feedback on this. I guess part of this process also included, I mean, several folks on here. I see David Graff is here, Jennifer Wellman, I think she was part of the group as well. But there's several folks on here on a roundtable that really helped kind of kick off and do these assessments that this group did. Part of that also included getting the BLM involved to where they provided additional training along with CNCC through their environmental program up there, to where they came in and really helped get some training on the ground so that everybody's looking at the exact same thing. And I found, I didn't participate in that training, but I know lots of folks did, and they found it very enlightening and helpful for them to really do an assessment. And that training is now spread out throughout other areas of our White River Basin as well.
Yes.
So hearing the good feedback that I just personally heard from that, what was good, and it was something new, and it really intrigued people on what to really look at and what's really involved with an assessment. And I know some of the Yampa folks have been through that. Nicole, you probably know that better than anyone else as well here on the Yampa piece. So that was just another takeaway that I got, that people really thought was intriguing and drew some good interest. So
yeah, thanks for that, Alden, because yes, that was huge. The BLM stepped up and helped to provide that training, and we had good feedback from them about our participation, because I think we had, I don't know, I think it was what, 11 or 12 people, Liz, that went through that of our local people. And that's really been one of our main goals, is to keep the information local. The last thing we want to do, I mean, if you hire consultants from out of the area, that knowledge, yes, it's in a report, but that real knowledge that's there and those connections just walked away out of the county. And we wanted to keep that here. And I think we've been really, really successful with that. We know that our next phase, we're going to need to reach out to some real, consultants that have done these kinds of things, whether it be hydrology, or whatever it may be. And again, I'm not even going to try to second guess what those are going to be. Our committee is going to figure that out. I am not trying to guide that in any way, shape, or form.
any other feedback?
I was just going to say, Chris, do you have any thoughts from being one of those members that was on there and spent the time and energy in it and went through the BLM training?
Yeah, the one thing I just wanted to say real quickly, and hopefully you didn't say it because I was having audio problems here, but one of the best things about the diversion assessment and also the riparian assessments is that we had a well-balanced group of people that you mentioned the local ranchers, but we had some people from Trout Unlimited on there, so I mean it made for some good discussions. I thought those is well balanced. And but specifically speaking to the riparian assessments, I know that the BLM was really happy to see such a lot. I mean, there's only 10 or 12 of us, but they thought that was a large turnout. And as someone that went through that training and also did some of these assessments, I really appreciate what they did. They really stepped up for our project.
Good.
And thanks for mentioning that we had Trout Unlimited and River's Edge West helped us, I think, on the riparian assessments as well as CPW and BLM folks. I'm not sure that we had a Forest Service person or not, We did have NRCS until that person left. So yeah, we had a good rounded group, I think.
I thought there's pretty well rounded on both assessments, not just the riparian. I mean,
right.
Yeah, CPW, Trout, we're on both teams, and yeah. So.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you. Hope that's what you were looking for.
I think you helped out a lot of folks understand a little bit more, and thank you for sharing that, Callie. Thank you very much. So.
Anytime. Thank you.
Nicole and Mr. Brenner, I believe you have an update for us as well, and there's an action item.
Thank you, Alden. Yes, we have three things that we'd like to address. The first, at the last roundtable meeting, concerns were expressed about a remote environmental assessment report that we were asking the roundtable to accept, and it became obvious that it needed further discussion. We've been working through that process. We're making some good progress. An ag subcommittee meeting that met on Monday came away with a pretty good outline of issues and areas that needed to be addressed in the report. We're going to make sure that the committee is comfortable with those, and then try to get that in front of the consultant and have them do a little bit of additional editing on the report, and hopefully have a draft ready for the February 1st IWMP meeting for recommendation to bring back to the roundtable. So having said that, I'd like a motion to table this item until the March 9th meeting.
I'll second. Steve, this is Steve.
Thank you. So we have a motion and a second.
Yep. Any other discussion to table this until the next meeting? If none, all in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Aye. Aye.
All opposed, nay. Okay, Ken, next.
All right, thank you. Thanks everybody who's been working on this. I know it's been a lot of extra work and even pretty frustrating for a few people, but I think it's an important part of the process is to hear everyone's thoughts, make sure that we fully understand your point of view, and to make sure whenever it's possible to incorporate that. The second item is a request for an additional $22,500 of previously approved funds for the IWMP process that have not been earmarked for a specific task. And that would be to add another $22,500 to the contract for Consensus Building Institute. That is Dan Birch and Ryan Golton, who are providing the facilitation services. It looks like we're going to, instead of be done in February, we're going to try to be done in June. So that we need the additional funding. So these are already, we're not asking for additional or new money. We're just designating it for this task. So if there's no questions, then we just need a motion for approval.
I would approve Ken I would make the motion that we approve to reallocate the $22,500 to cover CBI expenses for Ryan and Dan.
Second.
Tom seconds. Okay, we do have a motion. Other discussion? Hearing none, I'll call the question. All in favor of approving additional Consensus Building Institute funds totaling $22,500 signify by saying aye.
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 Aye. Aye.
Aye.
Aye.
Aye.
All opposed signify by saying nay. Thank you. Ken, next item.
Thanks for your support, everyone. The last item is our membership list that needs to be approved by this roundtable for the 2022 year. Patrick, do you have that membership list that you could put up for us today, please? Or Nicole, whoever has it. So we
I
had
can bring it up if Patrick doesn't have it. Patrick, do you need me to do it?
Please, it's not in the meeting packet, I don't think.
It is in the meeting packet. It should be.
Got it. Here, I'll got it.
So we've only had a couple of minor changes. Nicole, make sure I don't forget anything. We had well, I know, well, we lost Frank Alphone. Frank is just too darn busy being the Mount Warner Water Director, General Manager, and all of the projects that they have going on. So he has stepped back. And but the good news is that we've had Steve Hinkmeyer step forward and say that he would like to take that place. So you can see the list of people on there. It's pretty distinguished group of folks all working hard on this stuff. And we'd like to go ahead and if there's no comment, I think I did hear a comment from Mike Camblin. Mike, do you want to say something?
Yeah, so I
That's weird.
the Juniper Conservancy Board had asked for a seat on the board. And after thinking about it and talking to several of you, I think it would be better if we just made him an alternate to me, and that would be Curtis Elgin. So I'd like to add Curtis Elgin as an alternate to my name.
Okay, thank you, Mike. Well, we will, so then the list that we're providing would have one edit, and that would be to add Curtis to the, as Mike's.
I think sometimes people just have to make it theirs. It's more of an ego thing. That if they just direct somebody, or if it's not.
Could you please put yourself on mute, please?
Yeah, somebody came off of mute.
Thank you.
So that's the list. And it has one amendment. So is there a motion to approve?
Hodge move to approve the list with the amendment per Mike Camlin's comment.
Thank you.
Is there a second?
It can. Oh,
We need a second first, please.
I'll second. This is Steve.
Thank you, Steve.
Okay, discussion. I think I'm not sure who that was. I'm sorry.
this was Jeff Comstock. Ken, will you clarify? Are the members of this committee required to be members of the roundtable, or can they be? I understand the committee's open to the public, but the voting members on that list that you've put forward, are they all right if they're not a roundtable member? And there's a couple of them. Well, actually, there's like 3 of them or so on there that I don't know if are members, and maybe that's irrelevant. So would you just clarify?
Oh, that's a great question, Jeff. In fact, that might be a good question for Nicole. I'm not familiar with that specific proposal. I don't remember that they had to all be on here, but I think we were predominantly members. But
Hi, Ken,
thank you.
Ken, I can address that. Yeah, Jeff, we had that conversation back in 2019 when we did the charter for the committee, that's kind of the structure and the membership. And we specifically decided not to make roundtable membership a part of like a requirement to be on the committee, because we wanted to diversify it beyond just the roundtable members. So I think I would say at one point it was about 50-50 in terms of people being on the roundtable and people not on the committee. It's probably leaning a little more now lately toward people on the roundtable, but the decision was to not make that a requirement.
Okay, I'm glad you remember. Thank you.
Thanks for your question, Jeff.
Any other feedback, comments, questions? Okay, all in favor to approve the IWMP committee membership list for 2022, as it's presented with the one addition, I believe it's for Mike Camblin for an alternate for item number 4 on there, signify by saying aye.
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 All opposed, signify by saying nay. There you go, Ken.
All right.
Nicole? Good.
I think.
Yeah, I think that's it. Thank you.
That's all we have tonight, and thank you, and we got in under 15 minutes.
Yep, and Ken, you just will keep yourself handy because you're up next anyway.
Peppo, yes, Peppo. Well, we had a very lengthy meeting today, with lots of great information. In fact, we had to quit at 5:45, so Patrick could eat something before the meeting. But the Peppo committee is we don't have that agenda up, but if we had, maybe Patrick, you might throw the agenda for the Peppo committee up just so people could see what all we worked on today. But we definitely had a chance to get updates from the Colorado Water Conservation Board. We discussed a lot of WECO stuff and their tour for 2022. The group decided to add a little bit of language to the BIP update about what we were doing here in the basin from the Peppo, but they were minor edits with Lisa Brown. That the most important thing we talked about today was just the new funding stream that's coming from Elizabeth Schroeder and the Colorado Water Conservation Board. And we're moving to a granting cycle, and it's effective July 1. So the things that you see at the bottom is just a partial list. The number 9, it's kind of a partial list of some things that we're talking about doing. And so I'm, if nothing else, I wanted to give you an update right now that we'll be bringing back. We're going to vet these more thoroughly and bring back some ideas and some partnerships and a possible budget that for you to look at the next meeting. And then we'll, with your blessings, when you're ready, we'll go out and seek some additional grant funds from the state to get some of these projects accomplished this summer. And that, Patrick, what else do you have?
Again, I just want to take the moment for any partners that you've got any upcoming events or tours you want me to add to the events calendar on our website. Please forward them to me so we can get that out on our website and the social media. If I can take a second, I just want to remind everybody to where to find meeting information on our website. If you scroll down to the bottom of the website page, you can see all our upcoming meetings. And if you click on the meeting agenda packet, it should take you right to the webpage, Google Drive, where you can find, and you click on the right date. You can find all the reports and agendas for that particular meeting. I've also added a YouTube channel. Where did I put that? Where you can see all past recording meetings from our website. So thank you.
Oh, wow. Just in case you couldn't quite fall asleep that night.
Well, our website has actually morphed quite a bit. And there's a lot of information on there that I know it's getting more user friendly, as even if you want to come and to join the meeting information is right there for the Peppo Big River Committee. And even this meeting tonight, I mean, it would just click, and boom, there it was. And all the information's there. So slick. And I know when we visit with the other roundtable chairs, we meet 4 times a year, 3 times a year, something like that. Those are comments that they're kind of taking off, as well as what we have organized within our group. That includes our Peppo. And they kind of, they're impressed by what they see. So to me, that's a toot to our horn here on our Basin Roundtable for a job that we've done very well. And it's been an ongoing, and it continues to develop, but it's being noticed. So I'm pleased when I get good feedback, and I want to make sure that you guys hear the good feedback as well, because that to me demonstrates to you that you're doing a nice job. So thank you for doing that.
Thank you, Alden. Just one final thing, I'd like to give a little shout out to Patrick, because I think he's done a really good job. As you noted, Alden, the website continues to morph, and it's actually become extremely easy to use. And I mean, even I can figure it out. So thank you very much, Patrick, for all that work. That's all I have today.
Thank you. So with that, I know Jeff is not with us, but I'm sure Tom can share us a little bit about what's going on with the IBCC and the Big River Committee.
Yeah, thanks, Alden. Yeah, we had a great meeting yesterday on the Big River Committee. Eric Kuhn was present, and he spoke to us for over an hour, gave us a PowerPoint presentation on which we had asked him to, on the beginning of the interim guidelines that's been managing the reservoirs down in the lower basin, of which the upper basin has to make contributions to live up to the Colorado River Compact. He led us through that. It was very educational. I don't know if it's gotten posted up yet, but that PowerPoint's going to be posted on the Roundtable website soon, if it hasn't yet. And so that any of you who weren't able to attend yesterday could review that. It's just really good. We ended the presentation with some discussion. So in the future steps for the Big River Committee is to begin to create sort of a position paper, much like we did on demand management here over the last year. And the impetus is to help Becky Mitchell and the CWCB, UCRC, and the Upper Colorado River Commission, which is Becky is our representative on that, as they began renegotiating those interim guidelines. And so I think this roundtable is well positioned now. We've gotten up to speed to have some input and positive input to hope that the next set of guidelines benefit the upper basin maybe better than the old guidelines did. I guess that's about it. And then, as far as the IBCC, we haven't had a meeting since the last meeting of the roundtable in November. So I got an email the other day. We'll be having our next IBCC meeting February 23rd. And the main subject of that is going to be what role the IBCC will play in the demand management discussion, figuring out where Colorado is going to end up on that, and being a help for that. So we'll keep you informed on that. That's about it. I think. Anybody have any other input? Any of you that were on the Big River Committee meeting yesterday have any input, jump in, but that's all I can think of.
So Tom, I would agree. I think that the big thing that what we're trying to do is try to come up with the Northwest Basin perspective on those 07 guidelines and make sure they get included in the state's perspective. So thank you.
Yep, good. Thanks, Doug.
Yeah, I guess I spoke to you earlier, Tom, today, and I know those guidelines, and you had guest speaker Eric Kuhn yesterday. And for what, a 15-page presentation, man, I've never seen anybody break down those interim guidelines in such a digestible format and really outline what happened, what brought them on, where we're going to next. And if you haven't seen it and you really want to understand what's happening with the bigger basin issue, the bigger Colorado Riverside issue of this thing, and the interim guidelines, boy, this was really an eye opener. And I've heard it several times, but boy, this really brought it down to a digestible and understandable level. So, and it kind of showed how they're even kind of gaming the system, if you kind of want to say that, or how the system was being abused. So it kind of shows that a little bit. So you kind of form your own opinion. So thank you guys. That was a really, really informational visit yesterday.
Yeah, I thought it was great. I thought it, and the Big River Committee, we may bring in some more speakers or experts from time to time as we go through our as Doug said, our Northwest Colorado position on what the interim guideline negotiations needs to achieve, at least for us. So stay tuned. But yeah, go on the website here soon. Megan, if you're listening and we haven't gotten that to you yet, to post on our website, get with me and we'll get that to you. Anyway, I would encourage all of you to take a look at that. It's pretty good.
Tom, this is Pat Stanko. The presentation's on the website. If you go to our webpage at the resource page, underneath the Big River Committee, if you look at the demand management presentations, it will open up the Google Drive. You will look for the 2007 guidelines background operations. You select that and that will open up the presentation for you.
Great. I just hadn't taken a look yet, Patrick. I knew it was coming. So thanks for that.
Anything else? Hearing none. Jackie.
Thanks, Al. I actually don't have anything to report. Our next meeting is here in about 2 weeks and or a little less than 2 weeks, and it will be entirely virtual. It's the Monday and Tuesday before Water Congress. There will be a workshop on the Colorado Water Plan if anyone's interested in listening to that, and that too will be virtual. We have not met since November, and we don't have an agenda that I have seen. It should come out on Friday. So at this point, I'm not sure that I have anything to share with you.
Who's the new leadership on the board?
I'm sorry?
Who's the new leadership for the board, for the Colorado Water Conservation Board?
You mean, will I step into a chair position in March? Potentially, that's what the vice chair is supposed to do, but I have to be reappointed for that to happen. And so that transition would take place in March. And along with the other slate of board members that are up for reappointment here in March. Yeah, so we'll see. It'd be an honor to do it.
Congratulations, and well deserved.
Thanks, Ken.
Yes, congratulations. Very good.
Thanks, Doug.
Glad it's working out for you. Yes.
Appreciate it.
Anything else, Jackie?
Nope. I think maybe we'll be able to do tease out some of these important items at the next meeting.
Okay. All right, Aaron.
Thank you.
Aaron is here tonight. Thank you.
I am. Yes, thank you, Alden. Just give you an update on a few items. I'm going to touch base on over appropriation, measurement rules, and then abandonment. I'll start with over appropriation. I know everybody is as anxious as I am about getting Kevin's final decision on designating the basin over appropriated. My hope was that he would get something out by the end of the week, and I think it's still possible he will, but it might come out as early or as late as sometime next week. But I do expect it coming soon. He has made his decision and drafted up a notice to individuals on his decision, but he's right now working with our Denver office to develop how we're going to issue or how we're going to deal with the new well permits coming in. So do expect to hear something on the destination of the Yampa over appropriated again, either by the end of the week or early next week. As far as measurement rules, we are back up and working on those again. We took a little hiatus during the holidays. And we actually met last week. We're going to meet again this week here on Friday. We're trying to prepare a more final draft of the rules for public comment. The goal was to have those, setting the next draft of rules out for public comment at the end of this month. So expect to be seeing that. There will be then a period of time for individuals to provide comments. And then we hope to actually turn around and submit our final set of measurement rules to the Secretary of State at the beginning of March. So kind of a quick turnaround on public comment. I think it'll be 2 or 3 weeks. So that's an update on the measurement rules. And then as far as abandonment's concerned, as everybody probably knows already, the final revised abandonment list was submitted to the court. I think it was December 21st or 22nd, but it was submitted before Christmas to the court. Our list went from 702 water rights or 704 water rights down to just slightly over 300. The reason for that big drop, couple big reasons. One, I did remove all pre-compact alternate points, which accounted for over 200 of that 400 400 water rights removed. And then I think I've spoken to most of you about, I went through the list and removed other water rights before even the objection period had ended. And I did remove quite a few during that process. Majority of them though were in Water District 47, which is the North Platte River Basin. And then of course, we did get, close to 300 objections. And so more water rights were removed from the objection process. So again, we're just at slightly over 300. I think in 2010, we had slightly over 250. So we're fairly similar numbers. And if anybody wants to see that list, it's available online. If people are wanting to protest the abandonment list, they can file a protest with the court. The applications or the protest form is available online. I believe it's a $45 fee to file a protest. If you do file a protest, that protest gets its own individual case number. And at that point, once it's assigned a case number, you'll start working with myself and the Attorney General's office to really develop a stipulation concerning your water right. Individuals can file a protest all the way up till June 30th. So if anybody has questions about any of those things, but definitely abandonment, please let me know. That's all I have.
Anybody have anything that they would like to visit with Aaron about?
Al, real quick. Aaron, this is Jeff Comstock. Thank you so much for participating in these meetings on the augmentation planning needs. I mean, as this river becomes over appropriated either this week or next week, that augmentation opportunity and understanding that is one of the most critical things we have. And the state's been great about participating in those meetings. We look forward to keep working with you on it.
Oh, great. You bet.
Good. Thanks, Jeff. Anything else? Aaron, let's hope the season gives you a break over there so we don't have to do so much administration.
Absolutely. I agree.
Thank you. Mr. Hinkmeyer, you're up again.
Okay, so I don't have a lot for a grant committee update. I know you're all disappointed at that. After the November meeting, there was kind of a flurry of activity. It took me well off guard that Chuck Groby was not going to re-up for a position on the board. So we had to make changes to the guidance document that's out on the CWCB site. As well as Patrick had to fix a lot of things on our site where it named Chuck as the vice chair of the committee, and it had his email address and those sorts of things. So we had a flurry of activity right after our November meeting. I did mention earlier, I don't know if everybody caught it or not, our grant committee membership is now down to 5 folks now that Chuck's no longer with the BRT. So Anybody that would like to learn more about the grants committee or participate in the grants committee, please send me an email. Our next meeting is going to be February 9th, probably from 6 to 7 or 7:30. I won't know until we get some grants in. Right now we have no grants in, but they have almost until the end of this month to get them in. At that meeting, I will ask for volunteers to replace Chuck as vice chair for the committee. One of the things, and Deidre kind of hit the nail on the head earlier in her public comment, is, I've been with the board since 2015, and for those first 3 or 4 years we did, when people would finish up a grant that we participated in, they would come to the board and kind of do a final, here's what happened, here's the results of the study or whatever it was that we did for the grant. And we haven't done really any of that since COVID took over, and we've gone to these video meetings. And I guess I just like people to maybe spend a couple minutes and weigh in, because we've, Deidre pointed out the leafy spurge project ended at the end of the year, and we've now got the final report. But there's been a lot of projects that are either been come to fruition, got completed in the last year or two, or there's quite a few that are going to finish up here pretty quickly. And we used to have kind of final presentations, and we just kind of got away from that. Everybody's plate got full with all of our other committees, Big River and whatever. And I guess I just like to ask the Roundtable is, are we still interested in trying to bring some of those in, or not? Nobody speak up at once.
Steve, this is Callie.
Yes.
I certainly think we should. I mean, I would like to report back on what we've accomplished through the grants and so forth. And I mean, I'd like to know what other people are accomplishing too, because it sure gets away from you to, thinking about what have we already paid for and what have we got out of our money. I think we need to know that.
Anybody else have a comment on that?
Travis Day gave a thumbs up. He liked that as well. So,
okay.
This is Doug Munger. I agree too. We need to have closure. Some type we have a closure, and that means closure back to us, the committee that was releasing the money and approving the money on behalf of someone. So I think we need to have, and whether that's a smaller presentation, whether it's a presentation or a bigger presentation to the grant committee, and then a smaller 2-minute presentation, because the Big River, the whole river committee, the Basin Roundtable committee meeting is pretty full. So, but we could have, a small presentation on the Big River, on the Basin River committee, and then say, hey, yeah, we already went through it at the Basin River committee at the lower level, and we're all good.
Okay,
Steve?
well, I know. Go ahead.
Jennifer Holloway gave a thumbs up as well. So Jennifer's on board with that too.
Okay, so I know Patrick spends a lot of time, and I spend a lot of time trying to feed him stuff, but we did, we have broken the projects page on our website down into completed projects and projects in progress. And we do try to, we've been a little better at trying to get the 6-month reports out there on the website. We, as these projects like Leafy Spurge came along, and some of the others that are going to be ending here soon, we are trying to get those final reports out there so people can pull them up on the projects page. And, you know, if their project's in progress, then they can look at the 6 months reports and kind of understand, you know, where they are in the progress of finishing. And then the final reports we're trying to get out, but I kind of agree with everybody. I would really like people to come in and, you know, maybe we go to the Jackie Brown, you know, 3 or 4 slide rule, but come in here and tell us what you found out and were you successful with the grant or not? Did you discover the things that you hoped to? So.
Well, I want to share something here because I get where you're going and I'm not opposed to it. It's just I'm getting conflicting messages at times here. You know, I know I came on at the onset of COVID, but I've also gotten some feedback from folks on the roundtable that they want to see more written reports so the meeting can be more fluid, that people can do this as pre-meeting preparation. And, you know, I guess I'm trying to help keep us as organized and moving forward as best as we can, but we need one form of direction. And I've got 2 forms of direction here coming from the group that are kind of conflicting. I get one thing once upon a time, and I get something else another time. So help me out. Because I'm getting something a little different that's contrary to what was just said probably 18 months ago.
Well, I think we can do both. I think a written report is absolutely necessary. They don't have to be that long, but they should give us a good idea of what we spent money on. But then we can give them a 3-minute report, you know, not to just like a public comment, but it not only provides that closure, but it reminds us of what we have accomplished. And we often will learn something by hearing that summary that we might not have otherwise known.
I don't deny that. Yes. Callie, thank you, Ken.
Alden, I would agree with Ken. And, you know, and I know that probably the rest of you are much better at this than I am. I don't do a great job of getting in and reading my reports and stuff ahead of time. And I just like to hear that verbal report and be able to ask questions. So I agree. I think you got to give them 5 minutes. 3 minutes, if it was much of a project, you can't say a whole lot. The other thing, and this is a totally different topic, kind of. I think at one time we talked about maybe doing monthly meetings or shorter meetings, and especially when we're online like this, to sit for 3 hours. What's the possibility of us breaking it up into monthly meetings and only be here an hour and a half to 2 hours at the most? Just, I know, off topic, but throw it out there for another conversation later.
I'd like to stay on topic if we could, please, here. But that may be something that would have to come into play here. Sean, I see you got your hand raised. Sean? I don't know if he's having audio problems or not, but that was something I know I've had other folks talk about as well, is to breaking these up into shorter meetings, but going monthly. That's open. But that is going to change the scope of work for some of our people, like April, sorry, like for Megan. Maybe it'd be simpler for Patrick as well. I mean, so things to consider. Doug, you were saying something? I'm sorry, sir.
Yeah, so no, you're fine. I was just gonna barge in, so a moment. So I think we need to continue moving forward with the things we're doing, because we're doing good things. We just have to figure out how the system works and how the system works with the state. So again, I think we're doing very good with that. I don't need, personally, with my project that I undertook, I needed to have a prior approval and then a construction or contract approval. And then after that, we were good to go. So You know, so hey, I'm good with that. That's kind of the realm I need to have to move on. So anyhow, I don't know.
Sean, are you there to comment yet? Okay, Mike, go ahead.
As somebody that's picked up these grants several times, and being a board member, I kind of enjoy seeing where our money went and how it worked for people. And then, you know, being somebody that's used these grant monies, you know, I guess I get a sense of pride of, you know, tooting my own horn. You know, I think we ought to continue, you know, letting the board know what happens to this money. It is public money. Keep it short and simple, stupid, and go there, you know.
Okay.
My 2 cents.
Okay.
It's all good.
Okay. Well, that's all I have. That's all I have for an update. Alden.
Okay,
we'll just have to contemplate what we've heard.
Okay, moving on. Item 10A. Hunter.
Thank you, Al. So I just wanted to share a little bad news and some good news. The bad news is just for me. I am. It's looking like I'm no longer going to be the Basin Roundtable rep for the River District. I've stepped into the role as the chief engineer at the River District and just need to let go of this responsibility. The good news is that there's a pretty strong argument that you're getting an upgrade. Mike Eitel, pending River District Board approval, will be the new River District rep on the roundtable. Mike, many of you already know him. He's been around the water world for a long time. He's got decades of experience. He started off as a water commissioner, had about a decade of experience there. He's got a degree in forced hydrology, but he's really a jack of all trades at the River District. He's got water quality, hydrology experience, all sorts of stuff. So he should be a great resource for the roundtable. And lastly, I did want to just say thanks for just a great experience on the roundtable. And the one concession I have is that I'll still be involved in the Yampa. I'm still going to be managing Elkhead Reservoir. So with the role of Elkhead on the Yampa, I'll still be hanging around. You're not done with me yet.
Good.
Thanks for the opportunity to make that announcement, Al.
Not a problem.
Congratulations, Hunter.
Thank you.
So Hunter, do you have any announcements about the releases and how the reservoir levels? Just because you got a whole bunch of players here right now, so.
Not right now. Fortunately, we've got a little bit more water than we did about a month ago. So.
Got a little bit more water from the week ago then, huh?
Yeah.
Well, Hunter,
Congratulations, Hunter.
thank you very much for your service that you provide to this group. It's always beneficial to work with you, and you always bring a fun perspective. So
Yeah, and I'll still be coming to a lot of roundtable meetings. I just won't be
you
the
have
rep.
to. So
Yeah.
new guys on for pizza at the first meeting we get together. So Mike, you got pizza at the next round.
No problem. I look forward to meeting y'all in person. I know some of you guys, and look forward to working with y'all in the future. Definitely. Thanks, Hunter.
Sounds good.
Thank you, Mike.
All right. Anybody have anything else for announcements wise? So
I just have one, Alden.
yes, sir.
Just FYI, this this coming Wednesday, because this is Wednesday, the 19th, the River District's meeting Tuesday and Wednesday. On the 19th at 10:30, there'll be some discussion on the River District's demand management concept, that paper that they put out. I think we mentioned it before. It's one of the most substantive roundups of all the demand management talks and ideas that have been out there. we put it, I say we, the staff created it. We looked at it at our last meeting at the River District, and then it's come back with comments. And so we're going to have some more discussion. If anybody's still interested in the demand management conversation, tune in. You can, this is going to be a virtual meeting anyway, for any visitors, but tune in. I think you'd learn a lot. And if you haven't seen that paper, just in case demand management goes forward, I think it's going to be pretty informative. So just throwing that out there.
So what time was it again, Tom? On the 19th? What time?
19th, it's scheduled for 10:40. I said 10:30, 10:40, but you know, if you're gonna log in, you might want to, we're not always 100% right on schedule, as you might imagine. So give yourself a little leeway if you want to catch it.
Thank you.
Okay, I have no other announcements. Does anybody else have anything they would like to share? Okay, with that, our next meeting will be March 9th. I'd like to visit with a few of you about maybe bumping our meetings up to monthly, get some pro-con feedback. Let's speak this up a little bit before we just go ahead and do it. I know it's been discussed in the past, but as we expand our agendas and topics to discuss, we're going to need more time. So we'll be breaking it out to probably an hour and a half to 2 hours every month. So that's just the nature of the beast. So, or we're going to be cutting other areas. So, and I'm just going to be looking for some feedback. So even if you want to just send it to me, regardless, I would sure appreciate your thoughts on this. So with that, we're sliding into home plate with 4 minutes left on the time clock. So we're going to adjourn.
Thanks, Alden and everyone.
Thank you all.
Yeah, good job, Al.
Stay safe and stay healthy. Bye-bye.
Thanks, Al.
Thanks, Al.